The wind screamed louder than any voice could. Snow fell thick like a white wall. It was hard to see even a few steps ahead. The world had turned into a frozen nightmare. 17-year-old Kayla held her little sister Lena close, wrapping her cloak tightly around them both. Her fingers were numb. Her cheeks burned from the cold. But she didn't stop walking. She couldn't. Their family's caravan had been traveling through the northern wastes. The merchants warned them, if the sky turns gray, stop, build shelter. Don't wait. But the warning came too late. The blizzard had hit faster than anyone expected. Now Kayla and Lena were alone, lost, frozen, and afraid. Kayla. Lena's voice was soft and shaking. I can't feel my toes. Kayla didn't answer right away. She didn't want to scare her. But she was scared too. I know, she finally said. We just need to find cover, a hut, a cave, anything. She looked around. Everything was white. The snow was already knee-deep. If they didn't find shelter, soon Lena would collapse, maybe Kayla too. Then, something, a shape in the snow. Kayla squinted. There, half buried under snow and ice, an old hunter's hut, broken, abandoned. But it had 4 walls and part of a roof. She rushed to it, dragging Lena by the hand. They pushed through the snow and kicked the door open. Inside it was dark and cold, but out of the wind. That alone felt like magic. Kayla wrapped Lena in a dry blanket she found in a corner. The roof had holes. The wooden walls were cracked. But it was shelter. And right now that was everything. They sat in silence for a while, shivering beside a small pile of snow-covered firewood. Kayla tried to light a fire, but the wood was damp. It hissed but wouldn't catch. I'm so cold, Lena whispered. Kayla sat beside her, pulled her close. I know, but we'll make it. Lena nodded. Do you think the others are looking for us? Yes, Kayla lied, but deep inside, she wasn't sure. They were too far out. The storm was too strong. No one could see anything beyond a few meters. Kayla looked through the crack in the wall. The snow kept falling. The wind didn't stop. And then, she heard it, a deep, low growl. Not the wind, not the storm, something else. She froze. The sound came again, closer, like the breath of something huge. She crawled to the wall and peeked through a narrow gap. What she saw made her blood turn colder than the snow. A giant shadow moved through the storm. It was tall, taller than any animal she knew. Wings folded tight against its sides. A long neck, thick scales, and glowing red eyes. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't a wolf. It was a dragon, but not one of fire. This one was made of ice. Its wings shimmered like frost. Its steps turned the ground to frozen stone. Kayla backed away from the wall, heart pounding. Lena looked up. What is it? Kayla didn't want to answer, but she had to. There's something outside. Something big. Lena's eyes widened. A monster? Kayla nodded slowly. Yes. Lena pulled the blanket tighter around herself. Will it find us? Kayla didn't know. She listened. The growl faded. The snow blew harder. And then, silence. Was it gone? Or was it waiting? That night, Kayla couldn't sleep. She sat by the broken window, watching the storm, holding a small hunting knife, more for comfort than use. She thought about their parents, the caravan, the songs her mother used to sing to them by firelight, and she thought about the dragon. What was it doing out here? Dragons were rare, and almost never came this far north anymore. But this one had felt ancient, angry, hungry. At dawn, the wind died a little. The snow was lighter now. Kayla looked around the hut. She needed fire, food, a plan. While checking the back corner, she kicked something under a pile of old fur. She bent down and found a strange metal handle sticking out of the ice. She dug through the snow and pulled out an object covered in frost. Was a sword, old but not rusted. Its blade glowed faintly. Blue light pulsed through the cracks in the steel. Kayla touched it. It was warm. Her breath caught. She turned to Lena, who had just woken up. "Kayla," Lena said, staring at the sword. "That's a blade from the old stories." Kayla gripped it tight and whispered, "Maybe we weren't lost. Maybe we were brought here." Kayla held the sword in her hands and it hummed softly with heat. It felt strange, not like a weapon, not like a tool, but like something alive. The blade glowed, pale blue in the dim light of the hut. Even the frozen air around it seemed to melt a little. The handle was wrapped in old leather, worn but solid. Lena crawled closer and whispered, "Where did it come from?" Kayla shook her head. It was hidden under the snow, maybe left by a hunter, or maybe someone long before. Lena touched the edge gently. "It feels warm." Kayla nodded. "It shouldn't. Not in this cold." Suddenly, a sound cut through the silence. A deep, rumbling roar. Kayla froze. Lena clutched her arm. "It's back." Kayla quickly placed the sword near the wall and peeked through the crack in the wooden planks. Outside, the snow was falling lightly now, and there it was, the dragon. Its body was long and thick, its legs strong like trees. Its wings were folded against its back, but each was bigger than the hut itself. Its skin was made of shimmering blue and white scales, like jagged ice. Every step it took left behind solid frozen patches in the snow. Its head moved slowly from side to side, sniffing the air. It was looking for something. No, it was looking for them. Kayla pulled away from the window, heart racing. She moved quietly to the back wall, sword in hand. "We can't stay here," she whispered. "But we'll freeze out there," Lena said, voice shaking. Kayla looked at the sword. "Then we stay. But we stay ready." The dragon walked around the hut slowly, its massive claws crunching through the snow. Kayla held her breath. It stopped right outside the door. Kayla tightened her grip on the sword. Thump. A huge shadow passed across the window. Sniff. Sniff. Steam rose from the dragon's nose as it breathed. Hot, but not fire. It was like icy, mist, like cold air pulled from 1,000 winters. Then came a sound that made Kayla's blood run cold. It growled her name. "Kayla." The voice wasn't human, it was deep, echoing, and ancient. Kayla's hands shook. How does it know my name?" she whispered. Lena's eyes were wide with fear. It spoke. Kayla stood slowly, sword in hand, and stepped toward the door. She didn't open it, but she spoke. "What do you want?" A long silence followed. Then the dragon's voice came again through the cracks in the wood. "I have waited for the one who holds the blade." Kayla looked at the sword. "You mean this?" "Yes," the dragon replied. "That blade was born from fire, but made to end ice." Kayla's heart pounded. "Then why are you here? To destroy me?" "No," said the dragon. "To test you." Suddenly the wind howled again, and then everything went quiet. No footsteps, no growl. The dragon was gone. Kayla ran to the window. Outside, nothing. Only snow, only silence. Lena crawled to her. "Where did it go?" Kayla stared at the sword. "I think it's not just hunting us." She turned to Lena. "It's waiting." That night neither of them slept. The sword glowed softly beside them like a campfire. Kayla sat upright, watching the door. Her mind spun with questions. Why had the dragon spoken? Why had it known her name? What kind of test was it talking about? Lena finally broke the silence. "Do you think this is a dream?" Kayla shook her head. "No, this is real. Too real. But dragons that talk? Magic swords? Tests?" Kayla looked into the firelight. "Maybe we're part of something bigger than we thought." Lena hugged her knees. "I don't want to be a part of anything. I just want to go home." Kayla reached out and wrapped her arm around her sister. I know, but we can't go home yet. First we survive, then we fight. Outside, far in the shadows of the snowy hills, the dragon stood on a ridge, watching the hut. Its eyes glowed red. Its breath hung in the air, and deep in its chest, something stirred. Not hate, not hunger, but curiosity. The girl has the sword, it said to the wind, and she is not afraid to speak. Then it spread its wings and vanished into the night. Morning came quietly. No storm, no wind, only white silence and the crunch of old snow underfoot. Kayla stepped out of the broken hut, the glowing sword strapped to her back. Her boots sank into the soft snow, but she didn't mind the cold as much now. The blade kept her warm, almost like it wanted to protect her. Lena stayed behind, wrapped in a blanket, watching from the doorway. "Be careful," she said. Kayla nodded. "I'll stay close." She didn't plan to go far, just enough to look around, maybe find food, or old supplies buried in the ice. But something strange pulled her forward like a whisper, not a sound exactly, more like a feeling. She walked toward a pile of jagged rocks half covered in snow. She didn't know why. Her feet just moved. As she stepped closer, the sword on her back glowed brighter, like it was responding. Kayla knelt beside the rocks. Beneath a thin sheet of ice, something shiny glimmered. She cleared the snow and began digging. And then she found it. A symbol, carved into stone, half covered in frost, but still glowing faintly with blue light. It was a shape she had never seen before, like a star inside a circle with strange lines running through it. She touched it. The ice around it cracked and shattered, and suddenly, the ground shook beneath her knees. Back in the hut, Lena screamed, "Kayla!" Kayla stood and stepped back just in time. The rocks broke apart and a hidden doorway opened beneath them. A staircase of ancient stone led down into the ground, glowing faintly with soft blue light. Kayla's heart pounded. She looked back at Lena. "Stay there. I'll check it out." "No," Lena cried. "What if it's dangerous?" Kayla gave her a small smile. "I think this is why we're here." The air inside the hidden stairway was warmer, strangely warm, even pleasant. The walls were covered in glowing lines like veins of light. The deeper she went, the more the sword began to hum. She reached a wide underground chamber. There, in the center, stood a stone statue of a human warrior. Tall, proud, with a sword just like hers. At the base of the statue, ancient words glowed faintly in the same language she had seen on the blade. She couldn't read them, but somehow, she understood. When fire failed, the blade of will remained. When courage was rare, one girl stood against the storm. Let her return. Let her remember. Kayla stepped closer. This place, it wasn't random. It was a trial ground. A place where warriors came to face the impossible. Her sword wasn't just a weapon, it was a key. Suddenly the chamber lit up. A voice, not the dragon's, filled the space, calm and ancient. "You have awakened the path. The beast waits for balance. Courage is your only ally." Kayla looked around, heart pounding. "Who are you?" she asked. No answer. Only silence. But in the middle of the chamber, a soft light rose from the ground and revealed a crystal shard. Kayla stepped forward and took it in her hand. The moment she did, memories not her own flashed in her mind. She saw a girl, younger than her, fighting the same ice dragon. She saw the girl fall, but rise again, sword in hand, bleeding but never breaking, and then she saw the dragon bowing to her. Not beaten, but respectful. The memory faded and Kayla understood. The dragon wasn't there to kill them. Not yet. It was there to test their hearts. Kayla climbed back to the surface, snowflakes landing on her cheeks like feathers. She ran to the hut where Lena stood waiting with wide eyes. "Where did you go?" Lena asked. Kayla held up the shard. "Somewhere old, somewhere important." She looked at her sister. "I think this place chose us." Lena blinked. "What do you mean?" Kayla sheathed the glowing sword. I think this isn't just about surviving a storm. She looked at the sky. The sun was barely shining through the gray clouds. I think we were meant to face that dragon. Lena's face turned pale. But we don't have armor. We don't have magic. We don't even have warm clothes. Kayla smiled softly. No. But we have something stronger. Lena frowned. What? Kayla pulled her close. Each other. Far above, the dragon flew in slow circles around the mountain ridge. It could feel the shard had been touched. It could feel her courage rising. The test had begun, and the storm was not over yet. The sky turned gray again. Kayla stood just outside, the hut holding the glowing sword. Her breath came in soft clouds. She felt the storm returning, but this time it wasn't the snow that made her heart race. It was the dragon. Lena stayed inside, huddled in blankets. Her hands were blue at the fingertips. Her eyes stayed on her sister through a crack in the wall. Kayla didn't say it aloud, but she knew. This was the moment. The test had begun. The ground trembled. A loud crack echoed through the mountains. Kayla spun toward the sound, and then she saw it. The dragon came out of the sky like a thunderbolt, wings wide, claws sharp, tail cutting the air like a blade. It crashed down just a few steps from the hut, and snow exploded around it like a white wave. Kayla fell back, shielding her face from the blast. The dragon roared, a roar that shook the trees and split the sky. Its icy breath turned the air to mist and the ground to glass. Show me your heart, it growled. Show me your strength. Kayla stood, legs shaking. The sword pulsed with heat at her side. I'm not ready, she whispered to herself. But the sword seemed to respond, glowing hotter, humming louder. She drew it, and the light from the blade pushed the mist away. The dragon leapt forward. Kayla rolled aside just in time, the beast's claws slashing the snow where she had stood. She ran, dodging between rocks, leading the dragon away from the hut. It chased her. Snow blew up behind her with every thunderous step. She turned and swung. The sword met dragon scale with a burst of blue light, and the creature howled in pain. A thin line of frost cracked where the blade touched its chest. You have the will, the dragon said, voice like rumbling stones. But do you have the fire? Kayla panted, sweat freezing on her brow. I have what I need. The dragon's eyes narrowed. Prove it. It lunged again. This time, Kayla didn't run. She braced her feet, held the sword high, and waited. At the last moment, she leapt, right at the dragon's face. The blade slashed across its jaw, and the dragon reeled, roaring in surprise. Ice shattered from its chin. Steam hissed from the wound, but Kayla landed badly. Her ankle twisted, and she fell hard into the snow. The dragon circled her slowly, tail sweeping like a whip. Still standing? It growled. Kayla didn't move. Not yet. She tightened her grip on the sword and whispered, I'm not standing, I'm rising. She jumped up, dragging the blade across the dragon's leg. It staggered back just a little, but enough. Back at the hut, Lena watched with wide eyes. She couldn't just sit and do nothing. She grabbed a broken torch and a pouch of fire salts they had saved for warmth. She poured the salt on the cloth, tied it tight, and lit it with the last sparkstone. The flame roared bright for a moment, too bright to look at. Then she ran. Kayla faced the dragon again, breath coming in sharp gasps. Then, a flash of fire. Lena screamed from the hill, waving. The torch, hey, over here! The dragon turned, confused. That was all Kayla needed. She charged. With a cry, she plunged the sword deep into the dragon's shoulder. The blade flared. The beast screamed. It reared back and took to the sky, roaring in pain, wings, beating so hard that Kayla was knocked into the snow again. Then it vanished into the storm clouds, howling as it flew. Silence fell. Kayla lay in the snow, chest heaving. Lena ran to her and fell beside her. You did it, Lena gasped. Kayla smiled, weakly. We did it. The sky above began to clear just a little, not full sunlight, but no longer shadow. Kayla looked at her sword. It still glowed, but softer now. The test wasn't over, but she had passed the first part. Up on the tallest mountain, the dragon landed on a ridge. It looked down at the sisters below. A wound bled, slowly from its scales. But its eyes weren't angry. They were thoughtful. She fights like the one before her, the dragon whispered. But this one has something more. The dragon curled its tail and closed its wings. Let the next trial begin. Kayla leaned on her sword as the wind calmed. Her ankle throbbed, her arms ached. But she was still alive, and the dragon had left. Lena helped her back into the hut. We need to rest, she said softly. But Kayla couldn't sleep. Her mind raced, with questions. Why had the sword glowed when she struck? Why did the dragon seem more curious than cruel? And why did it speak as if it knew her? The next morning, something strange happened. Lena found a mark burned into the frozen wood outside the hut. It was a symbol, the same star circle Kayla had seen in the hidden cave. But this time, it was glowing red instead of blue. Kayla touched. A sharp jolt ran through her hand like fire, not ice. Then a voice echoed in her mind. You carry the blade, but do you carry the memory? The sisters packed what little they had and left the broken hut behind. The storm had eased. The wind no longer howled like before. And though the cold still bit at their skin, Kayla noticed the sword kept their bodies warm, not just from the cold, but from something deeper, like a protection no coat could give. They followed the trail up the mountain. Snow crunched under their boots. Trees stood frozen like statues. The sky above stayed gray, but no longer heavy. Lena walked quietly. Then she asked, what did it mean? That voice? Kayla held the sword tightly. I don't know, but I think we're part of something old, something that's happened before. Lena looked up. You think others came here to fight the dragon? Kayla nodded. I think they did, but not all of them made it. By midday, they found another stone marker. It was a circle of broken blades buried in the snow. In the middle stood a single sword, rusted and silent. Kayla stepped closer. The wind whispered around her. Snow lifted gently from the ground. The glowing sword on her back vibrated softly. Suddenly, the rusted blade glowed faintly, just for a moment. Kayla reached out and placed her hand on its hilt. A vision struck her. She saw a boy, no older than herself, standing where she now stood. He wore the same blade Kayla now carried. The dragon roared above him, wings dark as night. But the boy didn't run. He stood tall. He raised the sword, and he disappeared into light. The vision ended. Kayla gasped and fell to one knee. Lena rushed to her side. What happened? Kayla shook her head, eyes wide. I saw someone, a human warrior. He carried this same sword, and he faced the dragon just like me. Lena frowned. Did he win? Kayla looked at the snow-covered blades around them. I don't know. As they rested under a frozen tree, Kayla pulled the sword from her back. She studied the markings, etched into its steel. They were clearer now, almost glowing. The words changed before her eyes, forming a message she could finally understand. The blade chooses not the strongest, but the most stubborn. You have been called, not to win, but to try where others gave up. Kayla stared in silence. Then she whispered, I'm not a warrior. Lena looked at her. But you didn't give up. That's why the sword picked you. Kayla turned toward the mountaintop. A dark shape circled in the clouds. The dragon was still watching, still waiting, still testing. That night, Kayla had a dream. In it, she stood on a battlefield covered in ice and bone. The dragon loomed above her, but it wasn't attacking. It spoke. I have burned kings. I have broken heroes. Why do you stand? Kyla, Dream Kayla, held her sword and replied, Because I can't let my sister die. The dragon's eyes glowed red. Its voice rumbled, Then fight not for glory. Fight for the one behind you. That is the oldest legend of all. Kayla woke with a jolt. Snow had begun falling again, soft and slow. She looked at her sword. I know now, she whispered. This blade wasn't made to kill dragons. She looked at Lena. It was made to protect what matters most. Far, above, the dragon stood on a ledge of black stone. It saw Kayla rise, it saw the fire in her eyes, and it smiled, its first smile in 1,000 winters. The girl remembers now, it said. Let the final storm come. The storm came with no warning. Winds howled. Snow fell like knives. Ice slammed across the mountaintop. Kayla wrapped her arms around Lena, shielding her as best she could. They had built a shelter under a frozen overhang, but now even that shook. With each blast of wind, the dragon's voice echoed across the mountain, not loud, not angry, but deep, ancient, waiting. Come to me, girl of the blade. Come where others fell. If your heart still burn, face me beneath the sky of fire and frost. Kayla stood slowly. Her body trembled, not from cold, but from what she knew she had to do. Lena clutched her sleeve. Don't go. Not alone. Kayla knelt beside her sister and brushed the snow from her face. I'm not going alone, she said. You're coming too. Lena blinked. What? Kayla smiled. This was never just my fight. It's ours. Together they began the climb. The path to the summit was sharp and narrow. Ice clung to every surface. The wind screamed louder the higher they went. But Kayla's sword glowed stronger now, pushing the snow back, making the way clear just enough. Lena followed, quiet but brave. Finally they reached the top, and there, waiting on a cliff of frozen stone, stood the dragon. Its wings were folded. Its eyes glowed like molten lava inside blue ice. Its claws dug deep into the rock as it spoke. You came. Kayla held her sword high. I came for her, she said, nodding to Lena. The dragon lowered its head slightly. Then you may begin the final trial. Kayla stepped forward, blade glowing like the sun. But the dragon did not move. It only raised a single claw. And from the snow beneath it, 3 frozen statues rose. Kayla gasped. They were human. One was a man, sword broken in 2. Another, a woman, with a spear. And the third was a child. All frozen in solid ice. Eyes wide with fear. They came, the dragon said. They fought. But they fought with pride, or rage, or greed. Kayla stared in horror. The dragon continued. This is not a trial of strength. This is a trial of soul. Kayla raised her sword slowly. I don't fight to be remembered. I don't care about winning. She looked at Lena. I just want to live, to keep her alive. That's it. The dragon stepped forward, massive and slow. Then face me, not to destroy, but to protect. Suddenly the wind stopped. The snow stilled. Time seemed to freeze. The dragon's body shimmered, scales turning from icy blue to glowing white. And then, it leapt. Kayla moved fast. She didn't attack. She blocked, again and again. The dragon struck like a storm, claws and tail whipping the air. Kayla dodged, rolled, and spun. She only swung when she had to, and always to deflect, not harm. The sword flared each time it touched the dragon, but no blood fell, no wounds opened. Because Kayla wasn't trying to kill, she was trying to end it. Lena watched from the rocks, tears in her eyes. Come on, Kayla, you can do it. One final strike came, sharp and heavy. Kayla caught it with the blade, feet sliding back in the snow. The sword glowed blinding bright, and then shattered the ice claw clean off. The dragon screamed, not in pain, but in release. Suddenly, the snow turned blue, the air warmed. The dragon's body began to crack. Piece by piece, ice fell from its wings, and beneath the frozen shell was a creature of light, majestic, ancient, almost beautiful. The dragon's voice was soft now. You remembered. Not the fight, but the reason. You win. Not by breaking me, but by refusing to become like me. The glowing form of the dragon began to fade. The sword in Kayla's hands hummed one final time, then quieted, and the frozen statues melted. The humans within gasped awake, falling to the snow. Kayla ran to them, helping the child first. The dragon's final words echoed on the wind. Let this mountain rest. Let courage be your crown. And with that, the last of the storm vanished. Kayla turned to Lena, tears on her cheeks. It's over, she whispered. Lena ran into her arms. The sky opened, clear and blue for the first time in days, and high above. No dragon flew, only peace. The sun rose over the frozen peaks. Golden light touched the snow, making it shimmer like glass. The wind no longer howled. The storm was truly gone. Kayla and Lena stood on the mountaintop, hand in hand, staring at the place where the dragon had vanished. Only soft snow remained, no bones, no fire, no blood, just quiet, just peace. Behind them, the three humans the dragon had frozen sat on the ground, still weak, but breathing, alive, saved. One of them, the woman with the spear, looked at Kayla with wide eyes. You defeated it, she asked. Kayla shook her head. No, I freed it. They stayed on the mountain for one more night. Lena helped build a small fire. Kayla shared the last of their food with the rescued strangers. For the first time, there were smiles around the fire, not because of victory, but because of survival. That night, Kayla dreamed again. She stood in a great hall of ice and stars. The dragon was there, not fierce, not cold, but glowing with soft golden light. It lowered its head to her and spoke one last time. You chose protection over pride, mercy over might. That is what breaks the curse. And because of that, this mountain will remember your name. Kayla awoke to silence. And something new, a path of light, like faint footprints, glowed in the snow leading down the mountain. She woke Lena and the others. They followed the path together. As they walked, they saw something strange on the mountain's walls, carvings appearing in the ice. Pictures of them. Kayla holding the sword, Lena holding the fire, and below, written in glowing letters, Kayla and Lena of the Storm, sisters of courage. The last who chose love over power, let all who climb. Remember, strength is not in the blade, but in the heart that holds it. Lena read the words aloud and covered her mouth in awe. That's us, she whispered. Kayla felt her eyes sting. It's real, she said. The legend, it's real. And now we're part of it. They reached the forest below the mountains by noon. The wind there was soft, the air warm. Flowers bloomed near the snow. Travelers from nearby villages rushed to meet them, shocked to see survivors walking out of the cursed peaks. They listened in silence as Kayla told the story, not with pride, but with truth. Of a sword that chose her, of a trial not of strength but of soul, of a dragon that tested hearts, not weapons, and of two sisters who survived by never letting go of each other. The village named a hill after them. They built a stone there, carved with two hands joined, one small, one strong. At the base, a message in many languages. To protect is the truest kind of courage. To love is the sharpest sword. Years passed. Kayla and Lena lived simply. They never sought glory. They never raised the sword again. But children from every planet came to hear their story, and many climbed the mountain hoping to find the same light. Most turned back. A few didn't. And now and then, when the snow is quiet and the sky burns red, some say they hear the whisper of wings high above. Watching, waiting, not with rage, but with hope, because the dragon is gone. But the test never ends, and courage still lives.